Agreed, and it's really just down to this Demon Hunter in a very big way, because it's got a couple of shaky matchups, starting first of all with this this aggro druid where things can get a little bit rough, and then of course the hunter and the rogue where things maybe get a little bit better. But to start things off for Alan, it's a tough mulligan, but you're guaranteed at least something pretty powerful if you want it, with Coin Battleguard into the Pack Mule.
Is pretty powerful, but is that good enough versus the Demon Hunter? Because with the Elune, honestly, if you had a bit more mana, this is the power combo here, right? Elune into Battleguard, into Teacher's Pet for the copy as well. Of course, you need to wait till turn 5 and hold on to the coin to do all of that, so I don't think it's reasonable to keep everything together. But Alan disagrees. I mean, he doesn't have to wait till that turn to do it all together. He could dismantle part of the combo in the meantime and ends up with Far Watch Post, which is one of the best possible cards you can have versus Demon Hunter early. Glory kept the Immolation Aura for himself, which I do agree with. I think that is a pretty unique effect in the deck that is necessary to beat the Druid alongside a bit of spell damage, which he does have access to, but it's going to be a while before he can progress his quest.
And while there are a few cards, I will say, that would make Alan deviate away from his game plan, as you said, Far Watch Post is one of those cards, as it's so difficult for Glory to clear off. He probably has to hero power on this turn, then look to finish off with Immolation Aura, maybe with or without Arcanist on turn 3 or 4. But now again, in terms of the picks, I guess Chaos Leech, just because it gives you a guaranteed clear on another key minion later on in the game.
It might be on the Watch Post itself also. He still hero powers it here because there's still the chance of Adorable Infestation, but I really don't like Immolation being used on one minion, even though it is the most threatening minion. So I like that Glory's picked up the Chaos Leech just to get rid of the Watch Post.
And here it is, Alan's plan laid bare. He is not going with the Battle Guard in combination with the Annoyatron, just missing out a free 2-3 on this turn because he's setting up for that Oracle Battle Guard Teacher's Pet play. But he's doing it in a very non-conventional way. He's not waiting until turn 6. He's saying Oracle has to be cleared on this turn, or he has the most monumentally powerful play next turn. That is, of course, unless Glory can hit the Glide off the top. He knows that Alan kept 2 cards in his starting hand that he hasn't played until now. Does that give him the read that Glide is good enough to get rid of the Battle Guard and the Teacher's Pet?
I think you can make the read that Alan's setting up for something big, right? He's dropped Oracle of Elune. It's risky, but obviously still a good timing, seeing that Glory had such a hard time dealing with that first Watch Post. That I was gonna say, if Glide was ever gonna be good in this matchup, I thought it was here, but Glory does not want to take the risk. There were still tons of minions that were scary after Glide, right? You're leaving an Elune on the board. If Alan just gets 2 2-drops, Glory is in a lot of trouble because he's shuffled back then his own guaranteed Arcanist and Immolation Aura clear. So he gets rid of the Elune preemptively, and now Alan is going to refill, I guess, with all of the 2-drops and the Squirrel.
Does feel that way, doesn't it? Set up for a strong Arbor up, and man, it was just such a tough call for Glory because it's a risk, it's a gamble no matter what you do. If you go Glide, if you draw the Immolation Aura back, then you're absolutely fantastic. You can clear the board that they develop next turn and get on with your quest. But if you miss, then things go very, very wrong. But by using the Immolation Aura here very proactively, he used it on 2 minions. That's an incredibly aggressive use. And now things start to look difficult once again for Glory in terms of whether or not he can clear off these keyboards.
Power of this aggro druid, always threatening, even with a couple minions on board, to do something more powerful and forcing their opponents to use their resources a bit more loosely. Glory goes for the Glide here, which I completely agree with, rather than the Spectral Sight. It's in non-outcast position, which is better for him in this instance, and all of the hand at the beginning was made expensive by the Far Watch Post, or most of it at least. It was going to be awkward, so looking for better plays off of the Glide. And if he wants, he can already use I-Beam here. But it does mean having a bit less flexibility for quest progression next turn. I think that's worth it though.
Agreed completely, yeah. Acrobatics plus the Tusk Piercer should be able to do it. I want to see the Bone Chewer Brawler, the Taunt, killed off here as well, so you can kill off the Squirrel. At this point in the game, with 2 cards in hand, the Battle Guard has kind of done most of the damage it's going to do. It can be annoying, of course, but denying an extra minion for Arbor up is far more important.
Yeah, I agree. But the squirrel, in a way, sometimes makes Arbor up strong too if Alan can find cards right off the top.
Okay.
But is that a neophyte? I saw a purple card with Teacher's Pet. That's gotta be better, right?
I think so, yeah. You can potentially disrupt them for a turn. Either way, it's a board that has to be cleared, and it means that next turn, even if everything is cleared up, it's so likely that a 3-drop beast will come off the Teacher's Pet, and then Arbor Up is still just a decent play with that.
Yeah, the neophyte just... Not only is Glory starved for resources with only 2 cards in hand, the neophyte makes it less likely for him to progress quest and less likely for him to be able to deal with this board. And if you are able to curate more minions before you immediately push with Arbor Up, that's just more damage. So I like this. It's also just taking advantage of the fact that the Razor main stuck around Teacher's Pet. Coming down alongside the neophyte, Glory needs to find his second immolation aura and another piece of spell damage in the near future, but there's a neophyte aura.
Tradable is a fairly cheap way to start progressing through your quest, but I'm unsure how we're deviating out or spending the mana this turn. Acrobatics to start doesn't sound ridiculous either. Fell Scream Blast off the top is getting spicy, but he needs something to go alongside it and just doesn't have mana, even with the Arcanist off the top. That will... Oh, wait, cost exactly 2 now with the discount as well, so he can clear off the 3 minions on the right?
That's such a big deal. Having the taunt in the way for Alan was good to prevent Glory from getting like a free swing to keep progressing the quest. But is Glory just gonna wait here? Is he dead to Arbor Up? 11 plus 8.
Wow.
He is not dead. He's holding on.
Oh, that is greedy. Composting off the top, though. Is that better than Arbor Up? I don't even know.
It is only better if Glory has exactly Immolation Aura number 2 plus spell damage, in my opinion, right? Because Arbor Up wouldn't necessarily protect against that. Either way, you only have the Death Rattle from the Teacher's Pet remaining. But against every other clear from Glory, I think the Arbor Up is better.
It's so close, though, because Arbor Up is decent on its own. Even if the board is cleared, Arbor Up is powerful in its own right. And if you go for this line, you're still threatening lethal next turn, and you have the follow-up. It's such a tough call to make. But I think here for Alan, this still reps the lethal and gives him follow-up if the clear is there.
That's right. And it's not as though it's a disaster if Glory has an alternative clear, like I was saying, because he gets the 3 draws. But Glory perhaps gets a little bit of breathing room here. He can progress the quest, very likely here, and go for the clear on the 3 minions on the right.
So he can play Moarg and Spectral Sight and draw an extra 4 cards on this turn if he wants to, which would bring him up to 10, which is fine. That's even factoring in the Kurtrus you wouldn't overdraw. And then Arcanist Fell Scream, just Fell Scream? I don't know, it's close.
I would like to commit the Arcanist as well if possible, so you get more healing. I really like that play, even though you are not realistically getting very many discounts because of all the cards in hand before purchase. This isn't a game where you're just racing to get your OTK online. You're trying to outlast the new threats Alan will get off of the composting draws. And that means resources in hand is a benefit.
It's a big clear. It's a big heal. Effectively all the way back up to full, and now even though Alan has some powerful plays, he does not have long to get it done because Kurtrus next turn and then lethal very possibly coming the turn after that. Even with all of these combo pieces having been used, Alan needs to represent a lot of damage on this turn.
Gonna see what's in the studies. Sarian Ward?
I'm wondering if it's
Can't
even
play that next turn.
pouch.
There's an argument for Bog Beam too, because I don't want to kill the Moarg this turn. Okay, he's thinking big. He thinks he needs a miracle, which fair enough. This is not a great situation. And now it's a question of which 2-drop do you play with the Arbor Up? Certainly I think Arbor Up has to happen this turn. It disincentivizes Kurtrus the heaviest.
It does, but again, can you put so many minions on board that Arbor Up makes them unable to play Kurtrus because they would just tank so much damage in one turn? You can't represent lethal, I don't think, but you can get not far off.
Fair enough. The immediate Arbor Up, if you're going to trade into Morg, doesn't represent any immediate damage anyway, so makes sense to me. Kurtrus. Still not actually representing lethal with Arbor Up.
That's right, yeah, so he's taking a big risk here. He really, really wants to be able to glide as well on this turn, I think, but to get some of these combo pieces like Il'gynoth in particular cheapened, but obviously does not have the opportunity to do so, and therefore double jump for I-Beam, I think, is like the last Outcast card actually left in his deck, which is pretty good, okay.
Yeah, you can get rid of the Bone Chewer, I think, rather than Teacher's Pet. I'm always so scared of poison these days. Like, I feel like we've only ever seen Poison Beast pop out of this dang Teacher's Pet here in APAC.
Yeah, I think this is the best setup possible, giving him maximum card draw next turn. He's still got a Moarg, he's still got a Peddler in his deck as well, but it's going to be very, very tight in terms of pushing for lethal. Only one Arbor Up playable on this turn, sadly, given that that is a Nature Studies effect in play, but still a very powerful turn for Alan with just even one Arbor Up.
Is it ever Cenarian Ward? Because next turn you can play both Arbor Up. Oh wait, you can't. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Pack Mule, Arbor Up, Hero Power. Just to push the one. Certainly that sets up lethal for second Arbor Up. So you kind of put Glory on having once again second Immolation Aura alongside spell damage or a lethal of his own.
Yep, I think I agree. It's getting very quickly past the point where you can hold back a strong follow-up. Like, Cenarian Ward for Grom at this point is really the last final push you can have if you're outside of pushing lethal on that final turn.
Yeah, Alakir pushes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Grom for 4. It's still burst damage that Druid does not normally have access to. We'll see. Trades 1 into the Kurtrus to make that die if there is spell damage Immolation Aura.
Okay, that's
clever.
Yeah, reasonable, I suppose. Moarg off the top as well. You can copy that alongside the Il'gynoth, which means that you can push the 8 face as well. It's still not lethal, though.
It is not, but it's a lot of healing. Oh, wait, sorry. If you play Il'gynoth with it, you don't actually get to heal. But I wonder if you can take the healing and then just play Il'gynoth as a minion on the board.
Just going for the trade first.
Just wants to see what's in the Teacher's Pet, because fair enough, like the board game plan doesn't work if Alan spits out a poison from the Teacher's Pet. So he probably deviates to like a philosophy and double Moarg immo play. That's a full board clear, and you retain the Moargs because they will have 5 health.
Okay.
Oh wait, no.
This is now lethal next turn. Peddler, you can play that with the Immolation Aura to clear the board, or as you said, the Moarg alongside it as well.
1 Moarg Immolation is enough here. Yeah, this is ideal. My mistake was saying you needed double Moarg. That was just worse. You'd blow up your own Moarg. So Glory's just gonna have 1 Moarg left here. If it sticks around, he has 100% lethal the next turn, and even if it dies, it's kind of okay because he can just deal 18 to any minions that Alan plays. If there are 3 on board, he can deal 18 with the Il'gynoth and the 3 other combo pieces in hand and just win on board.
And so there are a few ways it can go for Glory next turn. Obviously, Guild Trader off the top ends the game. 30 damage, he wins. Sorry, aside from Cenarian Ward, I guess, but if you play that, then the Moarg likely survives, which means it's lethal anyway, so you could go Cenarian, and you'd have to hit a Rush or hope that Peddler is somehow or the Guild Trader, sorry, is somehow the bottom card. But even then, it gets more complicated, because Glory can go Il'gynoth, Guild Trader, Moarg, Glide at the end as well if he wants to, which means he would draw 4 of the 5 cards in his deck.
Yep. Which is almost certainly lethal. I just don't think Alan has a realistic way out. So it looks like he's gonna go Cenarian Ward to potentially survive the turn against the 36 combo if he can land a Rush minion here. That's not it though. That is a taunt, so...
He's alive at 2?
Not enough, yeah.
Philosophy, okay, that'll do it. A close one for Alan, and I think very, very well played right from the get-go, holding on to that opportunity for the Bone Chewer Brawler, the Oracle of Elune, and the Teacher's Pet as well. It didn't work out because Glory went for that clear on the Oracle of Elune, but a lot of the time he just plays double Teacher's Pet on turn 4 and wins the game on the spot. So I respect the optimistic mulligan from Alan. It didn't work though, and the win here for Glory cannot be overstated in how important it is. The Demon Hunter, which was the soft targeted deck in the lineup, is through in the first game.
Yeah, that's a very big deal. It still had a potential good matchup into Alan's Garrote Rogue, but just having the relief of that out of the way is definitely huge for Glory here. The Face Hunter for Alan, I feel, is something that could also have been preyed upon by the Demon Hunter, depending on where you sit on that side of the argument. Sure. It feels like the more we see the matchup, the closer it is, and the Hunter, if played well, can maneuver into enough spots where the Demon Hunter gets forced to use their spells in an awkward way. We will see what Glory moves on to next, because I am a little bit worried about his handlock still, with the Garrote Rogue sticking around for Alan.
I think you're absolutely bang on there. The Warlock could be the weak point, because even looking aside from just Alutem's strategy, which has a soft target on Demon Hunter and maybe even more so on the handlock, Demon Hunter has won every single game it's played today. It's just 3-0 right out the gate. Warlock is now 0-6 at this point. It hasn't won a single game so far. Oh, sorry, it's won 1 game for Glory to take the win in the mirror against Possessi, but only mirrors it's won so far, and outside of that, it's lost every single game. So even outside of what you're targeting or not targeting, Warlock is just looking weak. The version with Altar of Fire that everyone so far today is playing has just not been getting the job done.
That's right. Alan on the Garrote Rogue is not going to make that any easier, because while we have talked about how Altar of Fire sometimes can burn the key combo pieces for Garrote Rogue, it's very hard to put them on having that still in the deck. If they've managed to draw a field contact beforehand, if the Garrotes are safe, they generally have enough redundancy with the other combo pieces that the Altar of Fire thus just helps them by thinning the deck. There are, of course, other lines of attack for the handlock rather than just the Altar of Fire. The primary one being turboing out Flesh Giant, trying to play them alongside Cult Neophytes. And against that line of play, I think Garrote Rogue players have also sort of evolved their strategy to be a bit more proactive on the board. They can take turns to draw a lot and discount the hand, but if they can ever go for, say, the first field contact turn and end with a Divine Shield on it, oftentimes the handlock has to take a whole turn to get rid of that.
That's right. It's just an awkward game plan. All the matchups are just feeling kind of awkward for the Warlock at the moment, because one thing that we are seeing is the self-burn effects just coming in so clutch. If you're burning away Neophytes, Giants, Raised Deads, Baron Scavengers, Bristlebacks, there's a lot of cards you want to hit in pretty much all matchups, and that can get a little bit scary. But out of the gate for Glory, not a bad starting hand. Backfire can make your wildest dreams come true. But for Alan, little Backfire with Shroud of Concealment as well is not too bad either.
Just remembered the day that Sun Glitters had Wildest Dream stuck in her head, and now it's stuck in my head. Okay. Glory with the quest, both players essentially with their amazing 3-cost draw cards, the ideal plays on turn 3 available to them. As to which one works out more effectively though, now that Glory has the Anetheron, I feel like this backfire is an instant coin out play.
Yeah, the game plan is very simple now. You tap on 3 and then you go Anetheron, tap Null on turn 4. It's a lot of pressure right out the gate, but he's going to need a lot of pressure right out the gate because Alan has got the absolute nutty hand here. Octobot, field contact, plenty of fuel to fuel that engine as well. Even a swindle if that was even necessary. It's just so much goodness.
Right, so Octobot, Penflinger, and then Chill, I think. The Swindle can be paired with the field contact. You can argue that you just play it with the mana spare, and a lot of the time the minion you draw from that will be the fuel for the field contact. Fair enough.
Yeah, I agree. It only costs 1 mana anyway, so discounting it with Foxy Fraud is, you know, equal value to discounting a 1 Thief at this point as well. So I am very much okay with it going down here. You just want to turbo through your deck as quick as possible because Glory already turning up the heat. He, I think, just goes tap plus the Gold Shire Null to take out the Octobot. You deny the Shadow Step as well, which is, of course can be very, very valuable in this matchup.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You get 2 pretty good minions in the Raised Dead pool as soon as they are removed by Alan as well. And then from there, your Raised Deads become very efficient ways to keep the pressure going. You get to progress the quest. By the time you hit a giant, it should be reasonably cheap. It's looking good for Glory, but Alan, not going to waste any time here. This is the man who showed us the turn 6 Garrote Rogue lethal. Can he do it again? I don't think so without another Octobot, but doesn't have to be that fast, of course.
Alan defies logic. Never count this man out from doing the impossible as he has a super strong turn already. We're looking for pretty much any spell to play out with the prep here. Obviously Swindle and Shroud specifically, but even something off the 1 Thief could be pretty good. Oh, 2 premium spells in the Spring Water and the Rune Orb.
I really like the Rune Orb because currently Alan's at 5 cards played, so he wants to prep to get the Prize Plunder up to 6 and kill the Anetheron. Rune Orb here is perfect because it also allows him to get rid of the Null along with the Dagger Swing.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
Wow, this is working out very... Another Shroud! Or do you take Brain Freeze? It's gonna be Shroud, right, with the prep?
Yeah, that's just disgusting. He's got everything he needs. His only real fear right now is the Altar of Fire. It's already coming down to that with second Contact in deck, both Org Merchants, second Garrote in deck as well. The Altar of Fire is scary, but more pressing than that for Glory is just look at the amount of attack on board. He's dying.
This is what we talked about right at the beginning. If Rogue can just take a turn where they're proactive with the first field contact, end with it with Divine Shield, meaning that just Soul Rend cannot deal with the board, and a lot of the time the Neophyte is slotted into that turn, it means that Glory has to spend all his mana to remove 1 minion.
Ugh. So, Shadow Blast plus Touch of the Nathrazim, or is it just accept that Drain Soul doesn't get any healing?
So the Shadow Blast gives quest plus 5. I don't know where his quest is at, but...
Oh, 7 out of 8.
Yeah, that kind of influences how you use the Shadow Blast here by a lot, in my opinion.
Oh, you can't be considering not killing it, right? You just have to, as horrible as it is. Yeah.
You cry, you feel bad because it's still a ton of pressure left on board. Alan with the other Octobot and this prep discovered Shroud just has damage for days. The only thing missing is second contact.
Yep, second contact. Second Garrote obviously would be a little bit scary were it to be burned by the Altar of Fire, but at this point he's just dealing so much damage. 1 Garrote with double spell damage should just be enough to get there.
Yeah, that's
potentially even quadruple spell damage with the Talented Arcanist as well. There is the field contact that he was looking for. So how are we spending the rest of the mana on this turn? Is it Octobot discount to set up for a big draw next turn? Is it Kazakus to discover a Golem?
I kind of like the Octobot discount. Like, you end up floating 2 at the end of this turn, but to me that's okay because Glory has to clear the board next turn or he's dead, basically just to minion damage. And then you're free to go off with the field contact Garrote. Okay, going 1 cost, I assume here. He might even play it this turn.
Yeah, looking for +1/+1. Hits +1/+1 too. That is what we were looking for. Again, if you were afraid of losing the other Garrote and not having enough damage, how about you send all of this to the face? 16 on this turn means that Alan's just killing his opponent without any kind of combo next turn because Glory doesn't have the Soul Rend. This was a massacre.
This Altar of Fire has no hope in the world of being able to disrupt anything significant enough. Just the board is the game plan for Alan here. Obviously, he had the backup even if there was the Soul Run. Say it comes off the tour guide here. Then he just goes for Octo proc, draw a bunch of cards, get the Garrote lethal.
That is nothing.
Man, it feels like when you're not actually banning Garrote Rogue, you kind of kick yourself and say, why? This deck is too good. But, I mean, Demon Hunter's really good too. As you said a while ago, it's won every single game on stream. And that's just the power of Alan's lineup, is that Glory... There was the Garrote Rogue, but he's chosen to ban away the Paladin because on paper, it has more good matchups than the Garrote Rogue. In practice, still remains to be seen.
Yes, he goes null, even with the Drain Soul as well, all the way up to 9. He's still just dead on board. He's just praying that somehow he's missed something. Counting so far has been maybe not his strong suit, but in this instance, he knows what's up. He throws it down, and it's 1 game apiece.
Savage, Derek.
It's true. I'm just saying what I see.
Fair enough. Now I just have null even with the Drain Soul in my head. That sounds very catchy as well.
Club banger.
1 game apiece to our players here, both of them with the Hunter remaining, which we've talked about time and time again as probably the most difficult deck to get a win with, just as far as how these lineups have panned out here. Alan still has his Aggro Druid, which I can imagine would be pretty good against both the remaining decks from Glory, the Hunter and the Handlock.
Yep, I agree. I think this is going to be still a close one. It really is just now about that Warlock for me. Like, I know Glory has Hunter left over afterwards, which I haven't been its biggest fan of, but Warlock is just looking miserable. It's this week's Paladin, it feels like, in Asia Pacific, where it just cannot get a single win online. Glory's going to be queuing it up again, against either the Druid or the Hunter, depending on what Alan's going to go for next. And again, 2 matchups that I'm just not liking the look of right now. I know that I've literally changed my opinion over the course of the day on Warlock versus Hunter, saying I liked Warlock at the start, but I don't know, the more I'm seeing with good Hunter plays from Alan, like, he just gives no breathing room whatsoever to the Warlock players. He knows exactly how to play around all of their removal.
I think we brought this up last week too, where this matchup is so extremely close in terms of stats, but it doesn't feel like it when it plays out. It feels like when either of the classes wins, it's really one-sided in terms of the actual pan out of the game plan, because once Hunter gets rolling, if the Warlock is not able to go for a big Soul Rend, if all the Felmoss go face, then the Warlock just has so little health to play with, and if they have little health to play with, that means a lot of their draw effects and card generation effects are not playable, and thus they have too few resources. It means they're farther away from getting down to the Bristlebacks. But when things come together for the Warlock, they come together perfectly, right? A big Soul Rend then makes your removal even better because you hit the 10-card breakpoint.
Yeah.
And if you hit all of the healing in the early game, not only are you removing the immediate pressure, it means you have health to spend on Raise Dead and Backfire and so on.
He mauled the quest, Gia!
Oh my god, I haven't seen this.
I have never seen this before. This has to be a GM first, at least in Asia Pacific. Oh,
oh my gosh, I found my content for Mullet Over.
Oh, that is so sick.
But is it good? I mean,
I don't know.
It heals you. Of course, it's hard to get it to heal you as consistently as it did before, since the quest has been nerfed to 8 for every layer. But on average, like, you do still get value from it at least once. But Glory here saying literally any other card in his deck. Okay, not literally, but most of the other cards in his deck would be better than the quest, which if it's another shot at Soul Rend, okay.
Yep. Man, this is spicy. Soul Rend in hand, fantastic. Obviously, Alan has ways to play around it, but it does mean floating Neophyte, floating 1 mana here to not go Neophyte, potentially floating a mana next turn as well to go Neophyte over Mankrik. But again, these are the sacrifices that Alan is willing to make to play around the strong plays from his opponent.
And here for Glory, just Bristleback looks really strong to me.
Yeah.
If they want a Neophyte, okay, I'm sticking my 3/3 lifesteal. If they want a double trade, that's amazing for Glory. If they want to aim shot it, you still run the rest of the board. But he's going Drain Soul, weaves in the Altar of Fire. If you have the mana spare, absolutely just rip that. You're gonna play it at some point anyway to get the Bristleback and the Scavenger active. But it also means that the Neophyte for Alan shuts down the Soul Rend, and Glory has to face tank that 6 plus the 3 this turn. If he goes for it?
Yeah, I mean, the question becomes, is this... Oh, it's so weird, because if you go Neophyte, it doesn't feel like it's a board worth soul rending. But if you go Mankrik, it kind of does again, and all of a sudden you're not protecting it. So I do think in the end, it's correct to just go with the Cult Neophyte. Again, he should have plenty of mana to spend over the next few turns, and this does just play around the one most powerful play from Glory. But that top deck is just so clutch.
It's massive. Still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Glory could burn his quest from the Soul Rend, which would be amazing.
True.
Just good for him here, because he doesn't ever want to draw the quest. Like, it's too slow at this point. And Alan simply cannot play all that well around Soul Rend. Like, he could choose to just not develop minions here, like attack face and piercing shot one of the Volpertingers, which pushes a total of 8 damage, puts Glory down to 15. But you can't just win from 15 off board like that, even with the aim shot in hand. I don't think it gets there fast enough.
That's right. He could go Hero Power plus Initiate, which kind of achieves a similar thing. It's obviously putting less attack power on board when compared to Mankrik, but if you play a spell next turn, the Initiate does get up to that same amount of attack you're pushing forward, and then you can go Mankrik Hero Power next turn. It's massively mana efficient, obviously, but it's kind of achieving a middle ground between both plays where you're not giving up on board, but you're still mainly focusing on burn damage.
Kind of like that idea the more you go into it. Like, Alan has consistently gone for similar plays on the aggro druid, where he's just gone for the halfway point, developed enough pressure. But Alan says with a shake of the head, he already knows how hard of a walk into Soul Rend this is, just praying it wasn't there. Even though you sometimes make a play around a card on the previous turn, if you have a play the next turn that is worse against everything but Soul Rend, there's the quest, goodbye. Sometimes you have to eat or like swallow the fact that there is just no choice but to take the risk. Alan here, Warsong Wrangler, 2 Volpertingers played, only can get the Rhino, which is a disaster because at this point, like, board refill immediately is what he needs.
Yeah, 1 Rhino burned as well, so it's not even going to potentially give him a good draw later on as well. And with 10 cards in deck next turn, it's just going to be a very, very clean Bristleback Scavenger, clear off the Warsong Wrangler, and then Alan is going to be in big, big trouble because with a Netheron, Raised Dead, Flesh Giant, even the Battlegrounds Battlemaster as well, this is the perfect hand for Glory in this instance, where you don't want to be the control deck anymore, you want to be the aggressor, close out the game before they can hit their very, very niche outs, and that's exactly what Glory can do here.
Oh my god, he's got the Scavenger too. This turn is disgusting.
Yeah. That's feeling like a game ender.
Can he play Giant too? What's in this Raised Dead?
Not Bristleback or Baron Scavenger.
Hey.
That's what I'm going to say.
But you know what? 15 worth of stats and 6 damage lifesteal is enough to win this game. The small quest versus Hunter! Who knew? I didn't know! Apparently it's the nuts!
on a whole nother level. Glory back in form. I retract any mean jokes I may have made about his play in the previous series. This is what we expect from our world champ. Such a cool play, and looking like currently it's going to be rewarded with a win. Still not over yet, of course, but raised dead for very possibly another 6-6 taunt. Oh, and a bristleback as well. The absolute nuts. Scavenger, Giant, probably don't even play the bristle back because there's no real need, and then you're just so easily pushing for lethal next turn.
That's right. With this line of play, you could say the theoretical downside for Glory is that if you like burn enough of your big threats by playing Soul Rend and you've lost your quest, you can actually get fatigued, even though Hunter doesn't have that much removal. But he has drawn all of the big threats.
Yep, like I said, it is just the absolute perfect hand, as Alan will just be dead to... sorry, not quite dead yet. There it is. That's the lethal with Battlegrounds Battlemaster. Glory spotting it instantly. There we go. 2-1 to Glory, and such an important win, Gia. The first handlock to win a non-mirror today goes to Glory, and all of a sudden he just needs one more win. Just the Face Hunter, and he has 2 chances to do it.
I mean, BRB, Derek, I'm gonna go build my Warlock as a true handlock without the quest. Let's just put another Battlegrounds Battlemaster in there, or maybe, I don't know. Of course not. Obviously, the quest still gives you too many good matchups other than that, but the fact that Glory had the foresight to understand that it was not crucial to the win condition versus Hunter, executed a game plan, and found, more importantly, the Soul Rend was the winning combination here.
Yep.
If you even just told me the whole point of mulliganing quest is one more mulligan to give you Soul Rend, I think it's justified well enough.
Makes sense. His Flesh Giant was still very cheap at the end, still had plenty enough healing. Very, very nicely done by Glory. Switching over to his Face Hunter now, the double Imprisoned Felmore variant. And the 2 chances he has to take a win is first of all Aggro Druid, and then of course second of all the Face Hunter Mirror that it could all come down to, Gia, in the final game of the season, let alone of this series. But to start things off, with Face Hunter versus Druid, we've obviously seen this to be a pretty unfavorable matchup for the Hunter, but what are we looking for to turn the tides in Glory's favor?
It's a real close one here. With this Face Hunter, should it come to the mirror, I've always talked about how True Aim Crescent is one of the best cards because it just allows you to take trades away from... Or say if you're off board at the beginning, you can play a minion if it has enough health, let it immediately attack and get a value trade. And having value trades is amazing. You can take control of the board. You can make sure that you can dictate where your opponent's Felmaw can go, or at least influence it a little bit more. And you are able to then get the incremental damage from the minions much more easily. And often from that point, the best thing that the Druid can do is Park Panther, but that's to say that the Druid would fall behind at the beginning, which is not very likely to happen.
Battle Guard already in hand for Alan, and even though he's on the coin, that's how you can turn things around in this pure board-based aggro matchup. Glory has a 1-drop in Guardian Orc Merchant, but we have consistently seen players mulligan that away in favor of the more powerful 1-drops like the Intrepid Initiate and Volpatinga, even Demon Companion as well. The real question mark for me is that Felmore. Obviously, the earlier you play it, the better it is. But is it worth keeping at all, or is he just throwing it away in favor of more powerful 1-drops?
I want to throw it. There's just too many bad targets when it comes to aggro Druid. Like, you can argue that the 2-mana 2/3s are all good places for the Felmaw to go, but the second that something gets Divine Shield put on it, the second that Alan takes a value trade with one of them, it suddenly becomes a poor target. But Glory does keep the Felmaw. I am willing to bow down to his experience on mulligans after what we just saw a while ago, but let's see how it pans out for him here. Volpertinger off the top is amazing. You'd much rather do that than the Guardian Aug Merchant, because the ping effect of the Aug Merchant can be quite useful either for taking value trades or removing something from Alan, like a Peasant.
Alan looking like this is probably going to be Coin Org Merchant and then probably Adorable Infestation on it as well in order to go nice and wide and get a 3-2 that doesn't necessarily die to the Volpatingers. But he's going with the Nature Studies first, finds himself... okay, I guess Living Seed for a Beast, right, is maybe pretty good.
Yeah, there's Park Panther and the Squirrel. Yeah, okay, there's fair enough. Quite a few beasts to be had here, but the heart of the play is intact, right? The Adorable Infestation with the Guardian Og Merchant, which is something that Glory can mostly answer with the bump into the Gordon, replay the Volpertingers, or just go Felma. Okay, he says, the longer I wait, the worse this card gets, but too bad it's already starting out pretty bad.
Oh, and such a clutch top deck for Alan. Now Battle Guard plus the Annoyatron goes nice and wide on board, protecting his 3-2. It's going to be difficult for Glory to chew through all these stats in time, even if the Felmore plays ball and gives him the good hit there.
I do think Glory takes this next turn to play Quick Shot, which means that, the Felma playing ball isn't ever good for him because I think he has to quick shot the 2-3. Oh.
That's probably better than Volpatinger, right? It just, like, Volpatinger's just bad trades for when, your opponent just goes value trade.
Right. And so, if you feel like there's nothing too threatening in hand with the Razormane, you can quick shot the 3-2, which lets your Felma potentially get a better trade, maintains health on it, but the risk of that is extremely high. Glory's just gonna go for removing the minion that's more responsible to do so, and then hopefully leveraging the True Aim Crescent to get enough good trades here. But oh wow, 2-1s galore. This is perfect for Alan, exactly the type of board that Felma is worst against.
That's right. You throw down the composting as well. Value so decidedly in Alan's favor, and that is such a big part of the matchup. While it's also about tempo, you need to be able to consistently play your big threats. Glory with the Felmore hitting the 1-2. Okay, sure.
Close to the best target, I think. The awkward thing being that the Guardian Og Merchant, you cannot Gordon it and then swing into
Yes.
So I think what he does here is just swing into the Squirrel, Gordon his Felma.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And now he has the Rhino in hand. Could this be the one-time Face Hunter actually gets in the lead?
It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. The Park Panther is a really nice top deck, though, being able to take out the Felmore if you wanted, being able to just value trade one of these smaller minions as well. Probably the Guardian Org Merchant, your own Guardian Org Merchant, can just go into a 1-1 Volpatinger as well to take another value trade.
Yes, it sucks to face tank that much damage, but I think Alan still has enough health to work with here and should prioritize the board. I do favor trading over a Volpertinger compared to Guardian Og Merchant because of Warsong Wrangler, but Alan disagrees here.
Oh, well, both Volpatingers have been played, right?
Oh, have they?
So
okay.
I believe so, yeah.
My mistake then. Well, Rhino feels a little bit awkward because it is just dead to hero power, but if that's Alan's turn, I'm happy with that.
If they want to face tank that, they can be my guest. As, Living Seed going up to rank 2 now will reduce the cost of the minion drawn by 2. But even then, I guess that allows you to play the Teacher's Pet if you draw that as the 5-mana beast, given that both Panthers and 1 Squirrel have been drawn. But even then, that's a little scary with the Rhino.
And so he might deviate instead to Panther here with the Marsul, and the health total is getting scary enough that he might have to send the Panther in the Rhino, which I hate so much.
Yeah,
maybe
it's such a tough call.
Maybe you can face tank it and just say that every turn from here on out, I'm going to have a taunt, But then
Okay.
it's not so powerful necessarily against Hunter because their spells go over the top. Alan is going to preserve his health total. I can completely respect this. One Volpertinger left in terms of Glory's... Glory. Just go along with Gory and Bloody Face, huh? In terms of Glory's board presence...
That's not the one he was looking for. Just wanted any extra spell face damage, sorry, that he could possibly get. Now, obviously, the weapon can be used to take out the 2-1, protect your Volpertinger, but we have to start thinking about composting, obviously, but even more so Arbor Up. Is it worth just completely clearing the board to protect this 2-2?
I'm gonna say no. I think Glory needs as much damage face as possible here. He can push 7 with aim shot, hero power, 8 with the Volpertinger. Oh wow, he is just gonna clear the board entirely though. And is he not playing aim shot? He's still trying to get a hold of the board. I'm not sure about this.
Oh, it's so tight, isn't it? It depends on the top decks entirely. Like, if he gets Rhino, it's potentially doable to get that board, but then that incentivizes him to go for more face damage, right? Because then he'd be able to push for more damage as well.
I feel like nearly any board Alan develops here, Glory can't really get a hold of even with the aim shot to deal with a minion here. So I wanted to send that face and maybe open up some avenues for Glory to then top deck the other aim shot. Barracuda Bane, quick shot, which would also let him draw a card immediately.
That's fair.
There's only one Rhino left, but to be fair, he's in a bad spot now that either line seems unlikely to get the job done. But that is a piercing shot that's going to deal 5 damage. Hero power for the 7 damage. Aim shot hero power would have the potential to be lethal next turn, but Alan can hero power to get out of range of that.
But does that protect him for long enough? That only keeps him alive for 1 extra turn because Glory's hero power outpaces Alan's hero power in the long run. He can just tap the aim shot to close things out. The punish for playing the squirrel there with the piercing shot may be the difference maker that sends Glory to the World Championships again.
It might well be, because for Alan to use the hero power here means that he develops far less pressure on the other side, which means that he can't really threaten the counter lethal. And with the nature studies used as a one-off early on in the game, he doesn't have a way of generating more armor. So what he has to do is hero power to stay alive against aim shot if he feels like he can play around that. And top deck Arbor Up next turn, does that get there?
Time waits for no one.
I honestly don't know. Pack Mule played hero power face down to 18. You have 8 on board. Even Arbor Up off the top would be not enough.
Yeah.
Glory's counting it. He also has his own top decks for lethal right now, even with the hero power for the armor. There is the potential for second aim shot, for quick shot. Pack Mule played so we can't see what's happening, but he aim shot, he pressed the hero power. I think Alan's alive. Glory hasn't popped off just yet, but I think Glory knows that he's not dead to Arbor Up. And
he's
so
alive.
Alan doesn't have an out?
Even in the worst case scenario, Alan can't hit the lethal. I think he's coming to the conclusion that he's lost at the final hurdle. 17-1 he went over the past month of play. But when it finally matters, Glory, our current world champion, is going back home, back where he belongs, to the World Championship for the chance at the back-to-back trophy.
That's unbelievable, the story that Glory has had this season. Just the fact that the first couple weeks he had gone 0-2, the well-plays are thrown out, Glory pops off, Alan is going to fall at the very last hurdle. Glory turns it around the last couple weeks, escapes relegation, gets into playoffs, gets the good seeding, and has won our playoffs. He's going through to the World Championship again!
truly unbelievable. I could not be more happy for Glory. This is such a turnaround for him. He did incredibly well last year, all the way up to winning the entire World Championships, and this season as well, the turnaround from potential relegation all the way up to another World Championships. We have to, of course, give a huge shout out to Alan. He turned around in one of the most incredible seasons of play I've ever seen, as he went from 2 points after 4 weeks to winning, getting to the finals of the playoffs, and almost getting his stamp in Hearthstone history, going to the World Championships. But it's Glory who takes the day 2 years in a row, Gia. Japan are just unstoppable.
Insane. There was so many different storylines leading up into today. All of them, all 4 of them, would have been worthy champions, and all 3 of the people who were not already in Worlds would have been amazing representatives to send through alongside Possessi. I saw Alutamu talking about how if Possessi took the win versus Glory at the first hurdle, then Possessi owed him some yakiniku, because then Alutamu would have an easier time potentially getting through to Worlds. But then that story fell apart as soon as Alan destroyed Alutamu at a very close series, and then after that, Possessi himself couldn't quite get the job done versus Glory. Glory had a big misstep with the missed lethal in that series, but pulled it together despite the nerves getting to him, despite looking like he was starting to crumble under the pressure. The play from that point still came together, and versus Alan, it was completely unstoppable.
And I guess the biggest acclaim I can give to Alan is I do think he just had the best lineup this week. Going into this series, it had to be a couple of upsets for Glory to be able to get there. Warlock versus Hunter, a very close one. Demon Hunter versus Aggro Druid, not looking so good. Hunter versus Druid at the end, a miserable matchup. But he's able to do it with his incredibly strong play, getting those upsets as Glory, again, I can't get over saying it. I'm enjoying it so much. Another World Championship for him, 2 in a row. And the first ever potential back-to-back victory. And if nothing else, as you and I being big APAC fans, yourself actually being from Asia Pacific, and me just kind of piggybacking on this one as I am casting the region, I don't think we could be more happy with the 2 players that we have representing us at the World Championship. There's an incredibly strong chance that we as a region will get the back-to-back victory.
Okay, Derek, you can get the honorary